In this video, we'll discuss how the proportions of three specific areas on your face relates to how you make decisions. Enjoy. Hey everybody, hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. It was very busy over here. My apologies for not getting the video out yesterday. But for today's video, we're going to be talking about how your face indicates and points you in the direction of how to make decisions in your life. Decision fatigue, not making decisions, getting stuck, and people struggling with making decisions is a very common thing, but face reading has some very clear metrics about the proportions of your face from the frontal position and from the profile that point you in the direction to make the decision-making process easier. So let's dive into that. The first thing is the three sectors. Many of you have heard me talk about this. From the top of the hairline to the eyebrows, this distance, this space here, is the mental sphere. From the eyebrows to the bottom of the nose is the practical sphere. And from the bottom of the nose to the bottom of the chin is your emotional and instinctual sphere. So when assessing the face from the frontal viewing point, okay, looking at yourself in the mirror or looking at someone else, the height of these areas, the taller they are, the bigger they are, the more height they have, the more energy is allocated into that aspect of your personality. So kind of bookmark that because we're going to talk about this, how it relates to decision making. But that's first and foremost. Then you have to assess the face from profile. You've got to look at someone from the side, and when you look at them from the side, you want to pay attention to the areas of the face, these sectors, whether they recess or they protrude outward. So anytime we see a forehead, say, that slants back, or a nose that's more on the flat side, or a chin that recedes, that means the metrics within those areas, within those sectors, are going to be diminished. It's like turning the volume down in these areas. However, if things protrude and jut out, the forehead is kind of bulbous, or the nose is very dominant, or the jaw juts out, then the metrics in that sector are going to increase. And I would say if things are kind of on the flatter side, like a flat forehead, and the mouth and the jaw and whatnot is kind of flat in relation to the forehead, then you're kind of breaking even in the middle, and they're less important in terms of what they're telling you. But you want to average out frontal viewing and profile viewing, and you have to kind of loosely in your head, it's not an exact science, but kind of average out and say, okay, this person is dominant in these sectors, or I am dominant in these sectors. The point is that when you understand this, the value of the three sector lens is to get you into making decisions easier, because the East, I would say, and the West dictates that if you don't make a decision about anything, about the things in your life, growth and evolution do not take place. We have to decide to go after the job. We have to decide to make a family. We have to decide to do the right thing or the wrong thing. And moreover, when you make a decision, there's consequences for both. If you make a good decision, there are consequences. If you make a bad decision, there are consequences. So consequences are going to come either way. You've got to choose your hard, choose the thing that you think is going to elicit greater growth. But a lot of times people get hung up on this whole thing of like, I don't know how to decide. And this comes from the sectors. So if you use this lens, this will help you. First and foremost, when you identify a dominant sector, say you have a very long emotional and instinctual, or a very tall mental sphere, or a very wide and open practical sphere, whichever one is the largest on your face, that's the first layer or the lens that you want to use when making a decision. So say you're going to buy a car and you're like, I don't know what to do. You've got to look at your face and say, which of these sectors is most dominant, because that's where you have the most energy allocated. You got to look from the front and know the profile, and then make a decision from that place. Now, the next question is, people will say, well, wait a minute. When I look at my face, and I've done it even on a computer, all three sectors are the same. And what I say to people is, well, if all three sectors are the same, that means the volume of your mental sphere, your practical nature, and your instinctual nature, they're all running at the same volume, which makes it very difficult to make a decision, because you have all three running at the same time and you're like, I don't know what to do. If you're one of those people, you have to blindly pick one. And then the catch-22 is people are like, well, if I have trouble deciding, how do I pick which one to pick? Write them down on a piece of paper and put them in a hat. That's one basic way. You can get creative with how you do it. Make it random though, and just pick one and focus on it. I'm going to process this through the mental sphere, the practical, or the instinctual. Now, if you have two sectors that are the same and one is dominant, what you're going to do then is pick the one that's the largest. To say, for example, you've got a large emotional and instinctual sphere, but your practical and your mental are the same proportions. If they're the same, then what you're going to do is still choose from that instinctual place first, and then flip a coin for that mental or practical assessment lens. You're going to basically pick one out of the two that are even. But when you do that, what this is going to do is kind of cut through the noise a little bit, because a lot of times people just have a difficult time making decisions. They don't know what to do. And your face is cluing you into what you're wired to do. Some of us are geared to make kind of emotional and instinctual decisions. Some of us are more geared towards really thinking things out in the practical sphere. But give this a go. Pay attention to this. You can use this in relation to yourself, most definitely. But if you are listening to a family member, you're listening to a coworker, you're listening to a friend, whoever it is that you're listening to, you can also sort of guide the conversation for them into their emotions or into the practical nature of the topic or the mental logistics. You've got to take those ratios, maybe, tell them to look to the side for something, tell them that, there's someone over there they thought that they knew, and get a look at their profile and kind of pay attention to these things. But however you do it, this can be applied to yourself and others. And again, if you learn how to make decisions better, life force increases, because this pushes us into growth and evolution. And that is the name of the game with Life Nourishment and the entire core concepts of face reading. This should bolster life force and make things a bit easier. So that's all I got for today. See you guys next time.